So, is this as good as it's going to get, Ollie? Is it? You look quite exhausted up there. Is it the heat? Is it too hot? Oh, you poor boy, aren't you? Oh, I'm not too hot for a bit of fuss. I'm not too hot for a bit of fuss. No, I'm not. It's going to get hotter as well, apparently. It is. So we'll have to put you in a bath of cool water. That's not as strange as it may sound, because all three of our cats actually like water. Don't you? Very strange, aren't you? You are. You're lovely with it though. Hi there, it's Rosie Duck Designs here. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas using the Come Sail Away suite, which is in the new catalogue and can be found on pages 144 through to 146. But just before we do that, there's as always, Stamping Up never stands still, and there is some news I'd like to share with you. So firstly, it's bonus days. I've taken the precaution of printing this out earlier because my brain doesn't necessarily remember everything I'm supposed to tell you. So if you've not come across this before, it's something that certainly since I've been a demonstrator has been done each year. And in this instance, it's going to start on the 1st of July. There you go, look, I've got notes and I'm still struggling. 1st of July through to the 31st of July. Yes, you can shake your head, but it is hot. 1st to the 31st of July. And when you spend £4.50, no, not £4.50, £45, let's start this again. 1st to the 31st of July, spend £45, excluding postage and packing, and you will receive a £4.50 bonus coupon, which you can then redeem during the period of the 1st to the 31st of August. And there's no limit on the number of coupons that you can earn during the period of July. The only thing that you have to do is spend £45 or in increments of £45. So, for example, your order is £90 excluding postage and packing, you qualify for 2 bonus coupons and so on. And if you qualify for multiple coupons, they will all be included on the same email. So you need to keep that email safe so that you've got the codes that you can then use in August. I think that's right. I will be doing a blog post on it without the pressure of being on camera, so I will ensure that I have the right information in there, but I'm pretty sure that what I've told you is correct. And I'll repeat that before the end of June anyway. The other piece of news is concerning whether you would like to join up to become a demonstrator. Now that promotion runs from the 1st of July through to the 31st of August. And normally when you join, you pay £99 for your starter kit and you get to choose £130 of products from the annual catalogue or any other catalogue that happens to be current at the time. And that will also include a pre-order on the autumn-winter catalogue, which from memory is, I think, starting on the 1st of August. So if you join any time when there's 2 catalogues, then you get to choose products out of either of those. Now, the difference with this promotion is that instead of getting £130 worth of products for your £99, you're getting an additional £25 to spend when you first sign up for the starter kit. So that's £155 worth of products, and in addition to that you will get a further £8 given to you, and that is going to be by coupon, which is going to be sent by email, I'm going to read this, sent between the 5th to the 7th business day in the following month after you sign up, and the coupons expire on the 31st of October of this year. So you get a chance to earn that extra coupon, or have the extra amount in your starter kit for 2 months, and then you've got until 31st of October, which is an additional 2 months, in which to spend your £8 coupon. Again, I will do a blog post on that, but I just wanted to highlight the latest promotion news. I'm now stuck to the catalogue. It's that really sort of horrible damp heat. I know we were only moaning about rain last week, but there you go. What would we talk about if we didn't have the weather? Oh, that's right, we'd talk about the Stampin' Art, wouldn't we? So, some cards that I've made. This was one that we had given to us at on stage back in April to make up. So when we were first introduced to this suite. That's another one that I've made up. And this is another one. I'm kind of proud of this one because it's got a bow and it's got something dangling on a piece of cord. Yeah, I know it's an anchor, but I'm actually more impressed with the fact that it's dangling and it's still there, because we all know that I don't really do bows and things. So we're going to make this shortly and have a go at something similar to this one. But I will just share with you a couple of details about the actual suite. So this is the designer series paper. Another one hiding there at the background. So just while you try and focus on those, I will grab hold of this. Oh, that's quite exciting, isn't it? Look, do you like that paper? Your interest has peaked, has it? I hope you don't fall off. I don't want those sort of sound effects in my video. So we have as colours balmy blue, basic black, mossy meadow, night of navy, soft suede and whisper white. And if I just flip those over, I'll show you the other side to those. I have favourites, I've got to say, and this is one of them. And these newspaper cuttings, really like that. This is nice as well. Not particularly a seasidey colour, although I suppose it's like a seaweed colour, but that's really nice. It's got sort of, I think that's a map, isn't it, of some description. I'm not very nautical. I like water, but I'm not very nautical. There's cute little lighthouses on here, and we've got some navigational equipment on here as well. But there's plenty of sort of nice stripes that are very easy to use as backgrounds for cards, and some yachts. I like that one as well. We're going to be using that one very shortly. So that's the paper. So to put that in. I'm going to guard it for me, are you? And we have the Sailing Home stamp set, which is a cling stamp. So there's lots of different images and some sentiments in there. You see, I could make a card and dedicate that to you, couldn't I? Look. What do you think? That one. Not let hope be the anchor through the storms of life. Then we have a coordinating die set, which despite being on my nice magnetic sheets, as I've been sort of throwing them back in. But there's nice things in here. There's anchors, there's a couple of cutouts for sentiments, there's the ship's wheel, there's the lighthouse, this is some vegetation, a nice rope knot, a couple of yachts. Not totally sure what that is. Could be a compass thing, couldn't it? I don't know. I've not used that yet, but that could be for the compass, possibly. Work on that, wouldn't it? Let's give that a go. Next project sorted. So, and then this here is this rope. So you cut it out and it looks like a length of rope. So that's the die set. There is an embossing folder that coordinates with it as well, which I have to admit I don't have at the moment. But there's these nice trinkets here. So we've got ship's wheels and anchors. Now I have to be honest, we used this, as I said, on stage, and we all made a card with an anchor. And then at the end we get to share out the bits and pieces on the table. So I got this as one of my my takeaways from the event. Hence that's why I've got more ship's wheels and I've got anchors. I have to say I think my preference is the anchor. I really like that because you can sort of dangle that on a piece of rope, or piece of string rather. Piece of cord I think is the appropriate term. But these are lovely. They just stick on with what's the word I'm looking for? Glue dot. I love the way you've been paying attention over the months. So let's pick these up before I lose them on the floor. I'm going to need one of those in a moment. We also have Bakers Twine. See, it wasn't even called, it was Bakers Twine, that was the word I was looking for. But this is Night of Navy with Sahara Sand. And it frays, or you don't have to fray it, but it will fray very easily as well. So if you want that frayed look, it works very well. In addition to that, at the back here there is a coordinating Memories and More pack of cards which you can use for scrapbooking, memory keeping, or also for a very quick card. One of these elements from the Memories and More pack stuck on a card base and you have a card. A couple of things that I just wanted to try out, because I don't know if many of you have got this set. I have to say, High Tide, it's been around for quite some time now, and I always love this set, and I was really glad when I saw this on stage. I thought, oh no, that means that my High Tide favourite is going to be gone, but it's not. It is still available. So those two mixed together work really well. So if you've got that, it may well be worth thinking about getting this, because you've got the water elements in here, you've got the sand elements, and you've got some grasses, and you've got a few more birds, but we've got sort of wading birds here, and there's a sun. So they work well together, and there's obviously an additional amount of sentiments that work. With these, because there's never been a coordinating die with it, you've always had to fussy cut around them if you want to raise them up. So I thought I would just play with the Lighthouse die cut from the die set that coordinates with this, and see if it actually worked. Now that is the lighthouse that it should work with, which is this one. But with a tiny bit of tweaking, it actually worked for both of those as well. It cuts out slightly larger than these stamps, but the top bit works quite well. In particular, I think it works better with that one, but it would work with this. All you need to do is draw in a couple of blue lines there, and it just needs a tiny bit of fussy cutting up here, but most of the hard work is actually done for you. So that's worth a consideration. If you're happy with this, don't really want that, but you might want to consider the coordinating dies with this, because you get with that, as I say, you've got a rope, you've got an anchor, you've got a ship's wheel, and you've got the sentiments as well, you've got the vegetation, so you could utilise just that with this stamp set. So just a thought. Personally, I think I'm glad I've got both, because it opens up another whole avenue of ideas. So let's put those to one side and let's get down to some crafting. She said, always good for a laugh. So we're going to have a go at this one first. That one. Tidy that up. So I'm not sure whether this is a good idea with ropes and things and bows, but let's go for it. That's this one. So that was the envelope that went with. I just stamped the compass on there. So I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock 8 by 6, scored at 4 on the long side, and scored at 4 on the long side, and then folded to make the card base. Then I've got a piece of the designer series paper with the little yachts on, and that is 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. Start by sticking that on. I knew there wasn't a lot left. I'd have known that it was just that amount. I wouldn't have bothered, I have to say. So making sure you stick these up the right way. I'm probably talking to myself more than anybody else. And then I've got a piece of that's the back of the Lighthouse designer series paper, and it's the vertical or horizontally, you can use that. I'm using it vertically, and I want that cut 1 3/4, but I actually want it cut at 3 3/4. So if you just pause it a moment, I will go and get my stamping trimmer. So I've cut that at 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. Now I want to make or work out where I want my hole to go for the cord. So I'm just got a pencil, and from the centre of the card I'm just coming in 1/2 inch, just making a very small mark, and then I'm coming down from the top to 3/4 inch. So I'm going to put a bigger dot there so I know where I'm supposed to cut the hole. That will just rub off the other mark. So 1/2 inch in, if you were better at guesstimating 3/4 inch, then you wouldn't be quite as far out as I am, but there you go. So I've got my 2 holes there. Just rub out I've got a hole here and a hole there, and I've got a punch here. Work out which way this goes. So I can see the little pencil mark I've made. I'm just punching that out. Now that hole isn't big enough to take a double cord, so I'm just going back into the hole. I don't want to necessarily punch a complete hole out, but I just want to make that hole slightly bigger. So I'm just finding the hole. I've just made that larger. It's not going to matter if it's a bit too big, because you've got an anchor that's going to hang off of there. So there's no way that that is going to go through that hole. So same at the other end. It's kind of more what I was looking for, if I'm honest. Slightly bigger than I needed, but it won't matter. I want some cord, which I went for about 18-19 inches. I'm working on the basis it's better to have too much than not enough. I can't remember which way I did this. Put it through the hole. Can't remember which way I did it. Let's get the anchor out while I give that some thought.
Put one end through. Feed the anchor on the other end.
What, that way?
Yeah.
This one, that way. Yeah, I think that's what I did this morning when I did that. So you're not only my cameraman, you're now my technical advisor. That's called promotion.
Do I get more money?
No. No chance. I might make you a nice card though with that lovely sentiment on. So I want the anchor to hang about there. Let's put the end through. You kind of knew this was going to go horribly wrong. But there is the evidence that I can do it. That's not right. So we had a bit of creative difference there. I was actually right. So as I said, it does fray, so it's always better to have a little bit more, then you can cut the ends off. So what Jim thought I was going to do was just tie it off here, and then he said I wouldn't have enough to come through here, which wouldn't, he was actually quite right, but I'm actually going to have this feeding right the whole length of the card. So you're going to see some cord when the card is open. That is a little bit more detail. Why not? Trying to put two ends through at once isn't going to work. I don't even know why I'm trying that. So I worked out where I want my anchor to dangle from, which is about there, which gives me this bit to tie the bow with. So as you can see, that hole is covered up and that anchor wouldn't go through the hole, so that's perfectly secure. And then by the time we put a knot in the bottom here, or a bow, I'm going to double knot that. I'm going to tie a bow. bow in the world, but there you go. So you could, if you wanted to, fray the ends of this one. And just trim them off to the length you want. Now I'd kind of like the bow to sort of be on just on a slant. So I'm going to put a glue dot, and I'm literally going to take that off with my nail and just squidge it up a bit so that it just sticks on the underside of that knot. Then you can just twist it over and stick the bow where you want it. Another glue dot on my finger. I'm just going to trim that again a little bit more. That will do. Let's quit while we're ahead. So that's the first bit, probably the most complicated bit that I'm going to do with this. Now this piece, I want the stripes going across the middle. It just, the way it cuts, I just thought it looked better having blue at both ends. It sort of equalises it up a bit, but the choice is of course yours. So I'm aiming for somewhere across the middle of the card. And then we're going to do some stamping on a piece of watercolour paper, which again is available in the catalogue. There we go. Watercolour paper, 10 sheets, £8.25. And so they are 5 by 7, so that is 5 by 7. So they're quite good sheets, and not something you use all the time. So worth the investment. So I'm taking some light of navy, and I'm taking the Lighthouse stamp. I'm not sure if I said these are cling stamps, so again there can be a little bit of issue with the stamp if you leave it on your block too long, of it getting stuck on there and then the actual design label peeling off, particularly when they're new. The tackiness of it is particularly strong. So clean the stamp and get it off the block as soon as possible. So I'm just more or less centralising that. Take my own advice. Big ones aren't so bad, but it's the little ones. And if you're finding you're struggling, or to sort of ensure that you don't have a problem to start with, just put a little bit of washi tape between the block and the stamp, so a little bit of washi tape, so you've got some leverage to get it off. I have had a couple of mine stick. I have to be honest that I've managed to get them off and re-stick them, but I wouldn't recommend it. So I want to start colouring this in, and I've got Pool Party and Night of Navy, and I've got a nearly finished Wink of Stella. 30 minutes. How time flies when you're having fun. So as usual, it may well cut off, who knows, but I will, as usual, stick things together as far as the video is concerned. So I'm going to go with the C first. I'm not going with a completely full Wink of Stella. There is a tiny bit in there. I want it really as a blender pen with a tiny bit of shimmer in it, rather than a full-blown glitter experience. So I tend to sort of keep my Wink of Stella pens, because they do make quite good blender pens. So I'm just colouring in the sea bit. Just taking some of the colour out. Sounds like children coming home from school. And then I just want some sea effect. So the sea will probably go about from here. So nothing particularly technical about this. Just squiggers and not very happy children coming home from school. That's the trouble, when you open the windows you get all sorts of sound effects. Holly seems to be managing to sleep through it though. So just clean my nib off, and I'm going to add a bit of pool party. And you notice I'm just using the corners of my my ink pads. Yeah, that's the word. Now you will see other demos who manage to sort of squash them together, and you somehow do this and then you finish up with ink on here. I've never managed that, if I'm honest. Possibly I need to re-ink them. The other thing you could do is one of these little artist palettes. You could put some couple of drops of the re-inkers in there, but I'm kind of thinking I would only be using that part of my stamp pad when I'm stamping, so I'm just taking a tiny bit of the corner, and you can always then clean it off with a bit of kitchen roll. It kind of works for me, if I'm honest. So I'm just adding a little bit of different colour to the sea. And for the sky, because I want some sort of a contrast, I'm going with Balmy Blue. Now you could obviously add seagulls to this if you wanted to. And all this, because it's not got much Wink of Stella in it, you will get a slight shimmer to the image or to the background of the image, but it's not unusually for me going to be in your face glitter. A bit like sunlight coming off of the sea. And I'm just going to go in using our new Seaside Spray colour. Got like a nice grey blue to this. Because there's not much Wink of Stella, you can just be pressing it a little bit and getting a little bit of the liquid out to help it blend. Just a little bit of a dark in there just to give us more of the horizon. Two reasons for doing that. One, they won't dry out, and secondly, I won't stick my fingers in. Probably the latter is the real reason for doing that. So I'm going to stick that on using my snail. I'm just going to put that over the middle. So all we need is a little bit more detail. 35 minutes, that's not too bad, is it? Right, I have cut out of a Night of Navy card the ship's wheel, and I'm going to stick that on using a glue dot. It's a nice little detail around the edge of the actual wheel itself. And the idea of taking the item to the glue dot hasn't quite worked there, but that's what fingers were for. So I'm going to stick that there, and then I've got the little thank you stamp that I've done here. So this is this stamp here, and I've used, still on my Big Shot platform, so I'm just going to stick this on so we can finish the card, and then I'm just going to come back to that. So a couple of mini dimensionals will work on there. I'm just going to put that towards the bottom there, so just covering up the ship's wheel very slightly. Now, if you don't want that dangling, you could keep the length of the Bakers Twine and just stick a glue dot behind that so it doesn't move. So again, the choice is yours. I'm going to add in here, again using Night of Navy, the compass, just to keep the nautical theme going. Particularly line it up with that. It's impossible, I think, to more or less put the stamp on correctly, the actual label. So line it up with your stamp rather than, it's just slightly off centre how I've done that. So get my Night of Navy, and I'm just going to stick that in the corner. And I'll do the same on the envelope, which I haven't bought in, but that's what I've done with that one. So that's our finished card. Just going back to that, you're stamping out the thanks onto the piece of Whisper White. Just grab that a moment. Now when I tend to have my magnetic platform in my Big Shot. So, as suspected, we've run out of the time limit. So I'm stamping my thanks on there. I'm taking the coordinating die, and it's quite a tight fit. And whilst I do use my magnetic platform most of the time anyway, even so, when you're dealing with something this tight, this is just a little tip. So you've got you're making your sandwich up with your plastic plate there. You've got your piece of cardstock that's been stamped, your die. Just stick a post-it note over it, because even with the magnet it can move. That way you're guaranteed it won't move. You run it through the Big Shot and you finish up with this. So again, just a little tip. So as usual, I've gone on far longer than I anticipated, so I'll stick these two videos together, and I will then do a separate video so that we can then, I've lost the other card there, who knows where that is. Here it is. So I will come back in a separate video and share with you this card, or a variation on this card. the word I'm looking for. So I will be back very soon. And until then, take care. As usual, all the links are on the front of the video. Blog, shop, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, and the product details will also be on there. So if you've enjoyed the video, do please give me a thumbs up. That would be great. And you can also subscribe to my channel, and all that means is you will get notified when I've uploaded another video. So as I say, thanks ever so much for joining me, and until next time, take care. I will see you very soon. Bye.